What if I told you that your wife saying she's done with the marriage doesn't automatically mean it's too late to save it? Most men hear those words and take it with such finality, asking themselves, did I miss my chance? But is it actually too late? Or is there still a window here that you don't see yet? Because there is a line. There is a point where things become very difficult to recover. But what most men completely misunderstand is where that line actually is. So in this episode, I want to give you something real, not just hope for the sake of hope and not all doom and gloom either. I'm going to tell you why asking if it's too late to save everything is the wrong question, give you some of the most common mistakes men who fail to save their marriage make, and give you 3 things you can start doing that reopens the door to connecting with her and saving your marriage without having to convince her of doing anything. I know how devastating hearing the words "I'm done" feels, where you have this feeling of almost nothingness or this rush of kind of paralyzation come over you because you have no idea where to go from there. It feels like the relationship just ended right there in that conversation where those words were said. But as much as it does feel like it, it's really not what happened. That moment where those words left her mouth wasn't the start of the ending. It was the moment the possible ending finally became visible to you, because for her, that process started a long time ago. Most men think it's just happening like a light switch, flip it on and flip it off, but it isn't. It's more like a slow leak. It's a natural question for your brain to think like, is it too late? But I'm going to challenge that question directly, because that's actually the wrong question to be asking yourself. The real question is this: has her experience of you changed yet? Not what you said, not what you promised, and definitely not what you feel for her. And in a few seconds, I'm going to get into why this is one of the most common paths men take, but probably the most damaging. But what it actually feels like for her to interact with you right now, has that changed? Because if nothing about that experience has changed or doesn't look like it's going to change in any near future, then in her mind, the future is already predictable. You're going to have the same conversations, the same emotional reactions, and the same patterns playing out again. And if that future feels very predictable to her in that sense, then what is the reason really for her to stay open to it? But if you're able to trigger shifts in her belief of that predictable future, even slightly, well, now there's a bit of uncertainty in her mind. And most people think uncertainty is bad. It's not. In this situation, uncertainty is the only thing that creates space, because now her brain has to go, wait a minute, like this feels a little bit different. I expected X from him, but I'm getting Y. And that little tiny moment of hesitation, that's the window of opportunity. That's the difference between being too late and hang on, it ain't over yet. Unfortunately for most men, they don't even know that this window exists. And if they do believe they have a shot, they take the wrong course of action, which solidifies her being gone for good rather than saving everything and turning it around. So let me break down 3 big mistakes men make when they're trying to turn things around after that "I'm done" moment that actually push her further away and leaves you trying to pick up your own pieces. Mistake number 1 is having urgency energy. The moment you feel like you're losing her, everything in you speeds up. You start to panic and do the thing where it's, I gotta fix A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like right now. And if you're honest, you can probably feel that in your body right now as well. So the default is to figure out the perfect thing to say and show her how much you care about her and how you feel about her. And your energy becomes urgent because, well, you want this problem fixed immediately, and your presence becomes more intense. And in your mind, this feels like great effort to prove to her how much you love her, and this should fix that issue. But to her, her emotional safety is already decimated, and this just adds more pressure to her that you need some assurance from her that everything's going to be fine. Now, don't get me wrong, like I fully understand and empathize why this urgency energy shows up, and I'm not judging you or oblivious to it because I've been there many, many times in my life. But you have to be able to rein it in, because the pressure you create is only causing further disconnect. Mistake number 2 is emotional chasing disguised as love. This is where you sit down for long conversations, and because of the urgency feeling taking over your body from mistake number 1, you are trying to explain how much she means to you, and you start opening up emotionally in ways that you maybe haven't before. Honestly, oftentimes it can get to a point where you lose control of your emotions and you actually get really upset, crying a bit, and start pleading with her to believe how much you care and how much she should give you a chance. Now, again, I'm not judging you because I've actually done that before. And yeah, like it wasn't my finest moment, but look, we're all human. We do not know what we don't know. And again, it feels right to do. It feels like you're finally doing what you should have been doing all along. You think that you're finally showing up for her, but to her, it just feels like the same emotional cycle she's been experiencing during the emotional disconnect period, just at a more intensified rate. Your inability to understand why she is emotionally disconnected and how your behavior patterns played a role in it reminds her of why she felt drained in the first place. And finally, mistake number 3 is that you're spending all of your energy and mental capacity trying to fix things by going back. You're trying to convince her about how good things used to be when things felt good and there was a connection. But if I can be very honest with you, that's not what she truly wants, because the version of the relationship you're trying to return to is the same version she eventually emotionally checked out of. The same version that you became emotionally complacent, did not show up as the masculine leader, and although probably not your intention, you made her feel emotionally unsafe over a period of time. You're trying to restore something she's already decided doesn't work. So the more you try to do that, it confirms to her that nothing is changing for the better. So, when is it actually too late to save your marriage? Well, I'm a big fan of the phrase never say never, and I firmly do believe it because I've seen it with my own eyes with a few clients who were separated for over a year and they were still able to make the changes required and they would reconcile in a way that they have never imagined. I firmly believe there's always a chance the way life plays out, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that all marriages are going to be saved 100%. Anybody who tells you they can get you a 100% guaranteed saved marriage is completely lying to you, and I would honestly question their motivation. However, it's not too late just because she says she's done. It becomes too late when nothing about you changes after she says it. So your absolute best chance to save your marriage and reconnect with your wife after she's told you she's done is to first stop spending your energy trying to convince her to give you another chance or say whatever you think you have to do in order to get things back to the way they were. You need to get serious about focusing on things you can control and create the conditions for that reconnection to happen. This is the absolute only real way you can save your marriage in a way that will have you thriving for the rest of your lives together. And the things you can control do not revolve around convincing her with logic and explaining more. You have to change the experience she has when she interacts with you. Right now, the confirmation bias is built up to a point where her emotions tell her she's not going to be able to feel safe around you. And if you keep exuding the same patterns driven by fear of losing her, she's going to turn and run for the hills. So the following are 3 shifts you can start making that will change the experience she has with you for the better, opening that door for reconnection. Shift number 1, you become unfamiliar in the right way. Like I said, right now, she thinks she knows exactly how interactions with you are going to go. They're all based on what has continued to happen in the past, so she can expect certain reactions, certain patterns, and emotional responses from you. And can you really blame her? Like, this is what she's experienced for a long time in a relationship, so why would that change now? So when you respond differently, not in a dramatic way, not in a performative way, but consistently different, it disrupts that expectation of hers. And when expectation gets disrupted, that cracks the certainty she had that you were going to react the way you always have. And when that certainty cracks, the ears go up a little bit, you have at the very least a sliver of her attention again. The second shift you have to make is where a lot of men truly struggle. And I really couldn't wrap my head around this for so long in my life, in the many relationships I had where I thought I was doing everything right to save them when they were slipping away. You have to remove pressure from her completely. I know from experience it's hard to think this is true because it feels like you may be giving up, but you're not giving up fighting for the relationship like you may think you are. You're actually doing something way more impactful. You're giving up on having neediness in your actions. You're creating space for her to allow those feelings I mentioned in the first shift, when you get her attention again by being unfamiliar in a positive way. You're creating space for those feelings to be felt by her. That is what's going to allow her to experience you from a different perspective and have her trying to process what those feelings mean. As in, maybe she's making a mistake and thinking that she is done. You remove all that pressure and you give her the space for her to feel that. Okay, shift number 3. This is where everything either works or falls apart, because if your behavior doesn't change, nothing else is ever going to matter. It does not matter what you do if your behavior doesn't change. You can say all the right things, you can mean those things you say, but if your presence and actions don't reflect it consistently, her mind's going to go right back to nothing's different, this is not going to work. And I've had many strategy calls with men who are applying for my coaching program who told me that they used the things they learned in my free masterclass and it started working a bit with their wives, but they couldn't put it all together and do it consistently. And as good as it went for that little while, and they told me they noticed their wife responding differently to them, as soon as that one slip up happened where they reacted in their old patterns, their wives basically went back to telling them, hey, you are never going to change. So your behavior has to be consistent, which is why I designed the Relationship Rebuild coaching program in a certain way, because you have to progressively master these principles of being the leader of the relationship and understanding how her femininity works. this is when you start to see consistent changes in how she responds to you. So if you're sitting here right now wondering, is it too late to save your marriage? The truth is you're not at the end, but you're actually at a big decision point. You can either stay the same, react like a firefighter trying to put out a bunch of fires and getting the same results, or you can make a decision to start to shift how you show up entirely because you don't like the person you're seeing in the mirror, and you now understand that transforming that first is the real key to shifting everything in your relationship. If you're in that situation right now and you feel like you're running out of time, you can't really afford to keep guessing your way through this. I break down exactly how to shift these patterns and rebuild connection step by step in my free masterclass. The link for that masterclass is in the pinned comment and description below. And if she told you she's done, it isn't too late, but every day you wait thinking her mind's just gonna magically change on her own because she remembered the good times you had, you're wasting your time. So go and watch the free masterclass and you'll understand what actually needs to change and how to start doing it the right way. I hope this video helped you out, and if you appreciate me making content like this, please give the like button a tap and subscribe to the channel as well. I'll catch you in the next episode.